Olivia Maxwell stood at attention in Captain Harris's office, her back straight and her eyes fixed on the wall behind him. She knew what was coming. The Zentari officer beside the captain looked at her with those four glassy eyes, his blue skin wrinkling with disapproval. "Cadet Maxwell, do you understand why you're here?" Captain Harris asked, his voice tired. "Yes, sir," Olivia replied. "I questioned Lieutenant Zurak's tactics during the Orion simulation." The Zentari officer made a clicking sound with his mandibles. "You did not merely question human. You directly contradicted a superior officer in front of the entire class, and demonstrated an alternative approach without permission. An alternative approach that saved the simulated crew," Olivia said before she could stop herself. Captain Harris sighed. "This is exactly the problem, Maxwell. You're one of our brightest cadets, but you can't seem to follow the chain of command." The Zentari, Lieutenant Zurak, raised a three-fingered hand. "Humans always think they know better. Always so impulsive." Olivia bit her tongue. She had heard this before. How humans were too emotional, too unpredictable for precise military operations. Never mind that humans had been part of the Galactic Alliance for 30 years now. "I'm transferring you to the 87th Auxiliary Unit," Captain Harris said, sliding a datapad across his desk. "Effective immediately." Olivia's stomach dropped. The 87th was known throughout the Academy as the Alien Island, a dumping ground for problem soldiers from across the galaxy. A punishment detail. "Sir, the 87th is stationed at Outpost Kappa 9. "That's barely a military installation," Olivia protested. "It's where you're going, Cadet," Captain Harris said firmly. "Maybe some time away from the Academy will teach you the value of following orders." 3 days later, Olivia stepped off the transport ship onto the landing pad of Outpost Kappa 9. The air was thinner than Earth standard, and she felt slightly lightheaded as she looked around at the bleak metal structures embedded in the rocky landscape. A dusty brown planet with 2 small moons visible in the daytime sky stretched out before her. A tall figure approached, much taller than any human. The Prolaxian officer had gray leathery skin and a ridge of small spikes running down the center of his head. The name badge on his uniform read, Lieutenant Gaxthorne. "Cadet Maxwell," he said, his translator making his voice sound flat and mechanical. "I see the Academy has sent me another human problem." "Sir," Olivia said, saluting, "reporting for duty." Gaxthorne looked at her with yellow eyes. "The 87th doesn't need more problems, human. We need soldiers who follow orders." "I understand." "Sir? Do you?" Gaxthorne handed her a small device. "Your quarters assignment and duty roster. Report to the East Barracks after you've stored your gear." Olivia nodded and watched as the lieutenant walked away. She checked the device and frowned. They had assigned her to a maintenance closet that had been converted into a sleeping space. When she reached the East Barracks an hour later, she stood in the doorway, taking in the scene. A dozen aliens of various species were scattered around the room. Some played games on holographic tables. Others cleaned weapons or stared at data screens. All of them stopped to look at her when she entered. "A human?" said a muscular, red-skinned Duraxian with a scar across his face. "What did they do? Run out of real soldiers?" The room filled with alien laughter. Some hissing, some clicking, some rumbling deep like stones rolling downhill. Olivia stepped forward. "Cadet Olivia Maxwell. I've been assigned to this unit." A slender, almost translucent being floated closer. "Great. Another warm blood who'll complain about the temperature controls," it said in a whisper-like voice. "I've been told to report to Sergeant Vrex," Olivia said, keeping her voice steady. The red-skinned Duraxian stood up. He was nearly 7 feet tall. "That's me. And let me make something clear, human. You might wear that uniform, but you don't give orders here. You take them, understand?" Olivia looked up at him, meeting his 4 small eyes without flinching. "Yes, Sergeant, I understand perfectly." Sergeant Vrex led Olivia through the barracks, pointing out equipment stations with a dismissive wave of his massive red hand. The other aliens watched her with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. "This is where we store weapons," Vrex said, gesturing to a locked cabinet. Not that they give us anything worth using. Punishment units don't get the good stuff. What did everyone do to end up here? Olivia asked, trying to understand her new unit. Rex snorted, a sound like rocks grinding together. You ask a lot of questions for someone who's supposed to be taking orders. A small reptilian alien with scales that shifted colors as it moved approached them. I'll tell you why I'm here, human. I corrected a captain's calculations during a jump sequence. Saved the ship from ending up inside a star. My reward? 6 months in this wasteland. This is Credo, Vreck said. Our weapons expert. He thinks he knows everything. I do know everything about weapon systems, Credo replied, his scales flashing orange with irritation. From across the room, a voice like wind through leaves spoke up. I'm here because my telepathic abilities made others uncomfortable. The speaker was the translucent being Olivia had noticed earlier. It hovered slightly above the floor, tendrils of light moving within its body. I'm Zillith, communications specialist. Olivia nodded. Nice to meet you. Don't get friendly, Vrex warned. We all rotate out eventually. No point in making connections, he pointed to other aliens around the room. Drav, a bulky gray-skinned engineer with 4 arms. Plutak, a small furry creature who specialized in environmental systems, and several others whose names blurred together in Olivia's mind. What about you? Olivia asked Vrex. Why are you here? The room went quiet. Vrex's red skin darkened as he leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. I broke my last commanding officer's jaw when he called my species primitives, he said quietly. I'd have done worse if they hadn't pulled me off him. Olivia held his gaze. Sounds like he deserved it. A few of the aliens made surprised noises. Vreck straightened up, looking at her with new interest. Lieutenant Gaxthorne wants us in briefing room 3 in 10 minutes, he said, changing the subject. Try not to embarrass yourself, human. The briefing room was small and cramped for the diverse collection of alien bodies. Lieutenant Gaxthorne stood at the front, his tall Prolaxian frame making him tower over even Vrex. Friedman, we have our new addition, he said, nodding toward Olivia. Cadet Maxwell from Earth. Another disciplinary transfer. Olivia felt all eyes on her. Cadet, would you like to introduce yourself to your new platoon? Olivia stepped forward. I'm Cadet Olivia Maxwell. I was at the Interspecies Military Academy until 3 days ago. And why were you sent here? Gaxthorne asked, though he clearly knew the answer. Olivia paused. I questioned a superior officer's tactics during a simulation and demonstrated an alternative approach. An approach that worked, she added. Credo made a hissing laugh. She'll fit right in. Gaxthorne's expression hardened. This unit performs routine security and maintenance for Outpost Kappa 9. Nothing critical, nothing complicated. You follow orders, serve your time, and maybe you get transferred back to something worthwhile. He pulled up a holographic display, showing duty assignments. Maxwell, you'll be working with Zillith on communications monitoring. The easiest job we have. Even a human should be able to handle it. Zillith's glowing body dimmed slightly, clearly offended at the implication. Any questions? Gaxthorne asked. Olivia raised her hand. Sir, I've reviewed our platoon's personnel files. We have specialists in navigation, weapon systems, engineering, and xenobiology. Shouldn't we be running combat drills or emergency simulations? Instead of just monitoring duty? The room went dead silent. Gaxthorne's yellow eyes narrowed. This is exactly why you're here, Cadet. You've been here less than a day and already you think you know better. He looked around the room. This is not a real military unit. This is where the Alliance sends problems until they learn to follow. Orders without question. He turned back to Olivia. Report to communications at Oro 600 tomorrow. Dismissed. As the aliens filed out, Zillith floated near Olivia. That was brave, the telepathic being whispered. Stupid, but brave. Olivia's first day on communications duty was mind-numbingly boring. She sat beside Zillith in the small monitoring station, watching data streams from across the outpost. Nothing happened on Kappa 9. That was the point of punishment detail. How do you stand this? Olivia asked Zilith as they entered hour 6 of their shift. The translucent alien's body pulsed with soft blue light. I meditate. My species can enter a trance state where time feels different. Lucky you, Olivia said, checking the chronometer again. Your mind is very active, Zilith observed. Most humans I've met have busy thoughts, but yours move faster than most. Olivia looked up. Are you reading my mind? No, Zilith said quickly. That would be inappropriate, but I can sense patterns, emotions. Your frustration is like a storm cloud. Sorry, Olivia said. Zilith's form rippled. Do not apologize. It is interesting. Most in our unit have given up. Their minds are dull with resignation. Yours still pushes against the boundaries. Before Olivia could respond, Lieutenant Gaxethorn's voice came over the station comm. I'm leaving for the supply run to Starbase 12. I'll return in approximately 30 hours. Sergeant Vrex is in command until then. Great, Olivia muttered. That should go well. 3 hours later, as Olivia was showing Zilith a card game to pass, the time, all the monitors in the communications room suddenly flashed red. A harsh alarm blared through the outpost. What's happening? Olivia asked, jumping to her feet. Zilith moved rapidly between the screens, tendrils of light extending from its body to interact with multiple interfaces at once. Quantum storm approaching, Zilith said, voice tense. Category 4. Outpost. Sensors only just detected it. Olivia had studied quantum storms at the Academy. They were rare spatial phenomena that distorted local space-time, wreaking havoc on communications and sometimes physical structures. Where's Vrex? She asked. He should be responding to the command center, Zilith said. The station-wide comm system activated. Commander Jorax, the civilian administrator of the outpost, sounded stressed. All personnel evacuate to emergency shelters. Science teams secure your equipment. Military personnel report to Central Command immediately. Olivia and Zilith rushed to the command center. When they arrived, they found chaos. Aliens from various species ran in different directions. Equipment beeped warnings. In the center of it all stood Sergeant Vrex, completely frozen. Sergeant, what are the orders? Asked Credo, who had arrived from the weapons station. Vrex just stared at the main view screen showing the approaching storm, a swirling mass of purple and black energy that distorted the stars around it. Sergeant? Drav, the four-armed engineer, prompted. A crash from across the room drew everyone's attention. Commander Jorax lay on the floor, a fallen support beam across his legs. The outpost shook as the outer edges of the storm made contact. Help the commander! Olivia shouted, rushing to his side. 2 aliens helped her lift the beam. The commander's leg was clearly broken. The main facility? Jorax gasped through pain. Must be evacuated. Storm will hit us directly in 20 minutes. Where's the medical officer? Olivia asked. Left with Lieutenant Gaxthorn for supplies, someone answered. Olivia looked around. The punishment detail was the only military presence on the outpost, and Vrex was still standing immobile, overwhelmed by the sudden responsibility. Vrex, she said sharply, we need orders. The red-skinned alien blinked his 4 eyes rapidly. I don't... The outpost shook again, harder this time. Warning lights flashed across all stations. Shield generators failing, reported Plutak from a nearby console. We're losing containment in sections 3 through 7. Olivia looked at her fellow punishment detail members, all specialists in their fields, all looking for leadership. She looked at Vrex, who had retreated into himself. She looked at the injured commander. Someone needed to take charge. Zilith, establish emergency communications protocols, Olivia said, her voice clear and confident. Credo, secure the weapon systems. Drav, I need you to stabilize those shield generators. Everyone else, we have civilians to evacuate. The aliens hesitated, looking at her. Then at Vrex, then back at her. Now, Olivia ordered. To her surprise, they moved. Olivia moved quickly through the command center, analyzing the situation. The quantum storm readings were worse than she'd first thought. The outpost structure wasn't designed for this level of space-time distortion. Plutak, what's our shield status? She called to the small furry alien. 30% and dropping, Plutak replied, his tiny paws moving frantically across the controls. The emitters weren't maintained properly. Olivia wasn't surprised. Nobody cared about maintaining equipment at a punishment outpost. Drav, she called to the four-armed engineer. Can we reroute power from non-essential systems to strengthen the shields? The gray-skinned alien nodded. Possible, but someone needs to manually reset the junction boxes in Section 5. Section Bar 5 is experiencing temperature fluctuations, warned another alien. Already reaching -40 degrees in some corridors, Olivia thought quickly. She remembered the files she'd studied on the transport ship. Zilith, your species can handle extreme cold, right? The translucent being pulsed. Yes, but I've never done mechanical work. I'll go, rumbled Vrex, finally snapping out of his shock. My kind is resistant to cold. Good. Olivia nodded. But you're not going alone. Zilith, go with him. Your telepathy might help navigate if the sensors fail. She turned to the rest of the unit. We need teams. Plutak, Credo, secure the science labs. Those experiments could become dangerous if they break containment. The aliens were following her orders, without question now. The urgency of the situation had overcome their prejudice. What about the civilians? Asked a tall, thin alien named Lux, who had been silently watching from the corner. How many are in the outpost? Olivia asked. 23, replied Commander Jorax from where medics were stabilizing his leg. Mostly in the residential section. Olivia checked the outpost schematic on the main screen. Residential section is closest to the storm's approach vector. We need to get them to the central shelter now. She pointed to 3 aliens. You 3, help Commander Jorax to the medical bay. Then she looked at Lux. You're with me, we're evacuating civilians. As teams dispersed, Olivia grabbed emergency gear and headed toward the residential section with Lux trailing behind her. Why are you doing this? Lux asked as they jogged through corridors. Doing what? Olivia replied, checking her handheld. Scanner. Taking charge. We've treated you terribly since you arrived. Olivia didn't slow down. People need help. That's more important than hurt feelings. They reached the residential section to find panicked civilians gathering belongings. Everyone! Olivia shouted above the noise. Leave your things. The storm will hit this section first. We need to move to the central shelter now. A civilian scientist pushed forward. Who are you to give orders? You're just from that punishment unit. Lux stepped forward, his height making him impossible to ignore. She knows what she's doing. The shields are failing. We have 15 minutes before this section becomes uninhabitable. Something in their tone convinced the civilians. They began moving, leaving possessions behind. As Olivia led the evacuation, her comm unit crackled. Maxwell, came Vrex's voice, strained. We've reached the junction boxes, but there's a problem. The cold is causing the manual override to jam. Can you force it? Olivia asked, helping an elderly scientist through a doorway. If I force it, it might break completely, Vrex replied. Olivia thought quickly. Zilith, can you use your bioelectrical field to warm the mechanism? There was silence, then Zilith's voice. I've never tried that before. Theory suggests it should work, Olivia said. Focus your energy on the locking mechanism. After tense seconds, Vrex's voice returned. It worked. Junction reset. Rerouting power now. Throughout the outpost, lights dimmed as power was diverted to the shields. Drav reported immediate strengthening of the barrier. As Olivia reached the central shelter, with the last of the civilians, she felt the outpost stabilize slightly. They weren't safe yet, but her quick thinking had bought them time. She looked around at the aliens from her unit, now working together seamlessly. No one was calling her human anymore. They were looking to her for the next step. Status reports, she ordered. Let's see what we're facing. The central shelter was crowded with civilians and the members of the 87th. Olivia stood at the emergency command console, reviewing reports from around the outpost. The reinforced shields were holding, but the quantum storm was intensifying. The primary generator is overheating. Drav reported, all four of his arms gesturing with concern. If it fails, we lose shields completely. Credo pushed forward, his scales flashing red with agitation. We should evacuate in the emergency shuttles. While we still can. No, Olivia said firmly. The storm would tear apart small shuttles. We're safer in the outpost if we can maintain shields. If, Credo emphasized. That's a big if. Who made you an expert on quantum storms anyway? Olivia took a deep breath. Now wasn't the time for a power struggle. At the academy, I specialized in spatial anomalies, but I'm not claiming to be an expert. What I do know is that we need to cool that generator. Any ideas? To everyone's surprise, Credo's expression changed. No one had ever asked for his input. Before, we could vent coolant from the weapon systems, he said slowly. Those systems are built to handle energy surges. Would that work, Drav? Olivia asked the engineer. Drav blinked his three eyes in rapid succession. Yes, but someone would need to manually connect the systems. The automated controls are offline. Where? Olivia asked. Section 8, Drav replied. Near the outer hull. It's dangerous. Gravity fluctuations are strongest there. Olivia nodded. I'll go. No, Vrex said, stepping forward. I'll do it. I'm stronger in variable gravity. Olivia looked at him, surprised by the offer. We need 2 people. I'm coming with you. The shelter doors hissed open as they prepared to leave. Plutak rushed in, his fur standing on end with static electricity. Shield generator 3 just failed, he squeaked. We have a breach in the eastern section. Alarm spread through the room. The civilians began to panic. Everyone stay calm, Olivia shouted over the noise. She turned to Zilith. Can you sense if anyone was in that section? Zilith's form pulsed with concentration. 2 mind, faint, trapped in the science lab. Without hesitation, Olivia grabbed emergency gear. Vrex, we need to split up. You handle the generator cooling. I'll get those people. That's suicide, Credo hissed. The eastern section is directly exposed to the storm. I'm not leaving anyone behind, Olivia said, checking her oxygen mask. Lux, come with me. Your species has natural magnetic anchoring, right? That could help in gravity fluctuations. Lux nodded, surprise evident in his elongated features. As they prepared to leave, Commander Jorak spoke up from his makeshift medical bed. Cadet Maxwell, this is beyond the call of duty. Olivia secured her gear. With respect, Commander, this is exactly the call of duty. She and Lux moved quickly through the corridors, using emergency routes to approach the damaged eastern section. Warnings flashed on every panel they passed. How did you know about my magnetic capabilities? Lux asked as they ran. Most aliens don't bother learning about Solarian physiology. I studied all the Alliance species at the Academy, Olivia replied. Knowledge like that saves lives. They reached a security door separating them from the breached section. Through the small window they could see spatial distortions, objects floating, colors shifting unnaturally. If we open this, we'll be directly exposed, Lux warned. Olivia checked her gear one last time. Stay anchored to the floor. We move. Fast, get to the lab, grab the survivors and get out. Ready? Lux's body emitted a soft hum as he activated his magnetic anchoring. Ready! The door opened and chaos hit them like a physical force. The air itself seemed to bend and twist. Olivia felt her body become lighter, then heavier, then lighter again, as gravity fluctuated wildly. She pushed forward, fighting against the disorientation. Behind her, Lux moved steadily, his magnetic abilities keeping him secured. Through the distortions, Olivia spotted the lab door. 2 scientists were visible inside, huddled under a desk as equipment floated around them. We're going to make it, she called to Lux over the howling of the breach. As they reached the lab, her comm unit crackled with Vrex's voice. Generator cooling successful, shield stabilizing. There was a pause then. Maxwell, be careful. Your life signs are fluctuating on our monitors. Olivia smiled despite the danger. Was that concern in the Duraxian's voice? Copy that, she replied. We're bringing them home. Olivia and Lux burst through the lab door. Inside, 2 scientists, a Talarian with purple skin and a human woman, were crouched beneath a reinforced desk. The lab was in chaos, with equipment floating and smashing against walls as gravity shifted unpredictably. "We're here to get you out," Olivia shouted over the noise of the storm. The human scientist looked up in surprise. "The breach is spreading. The whole section will decompress soon." Lux extended his magnetic field, creating a stable zone around them. "Stay close to me. I can anchor us, but only within 2 meters. Olivia helped the scientist to their feet. "What's your name?" she asked the human scientist. "Dr. Ellen Miller," the woman replied, her face pale with fear. "Ellen, I need you and your colleague to stay right behind Lux. The path back is dangerous, but we've got shield stabilization in progress." As they prepared to leave, Ellen grabbed Olivia's arm. "Wait, our research data. It's 3 years of work on quantum fluctuations." Olivia glanced at the central computer terminal, which was still functioning despite the chaos. "Where is it stored?" "Main server, but we need to initiate the backup protocol first." Olivia checked the oxygen levels in her mask. "How long?" 30 seconds to start the sequence." "Do it," Olivia decided. "Lux, get them started toward the exit. I'll catch up." Lux's eyes widened. "Are you sure? The gravity fluctuations are getting worse." "Go," Olivia ordered. "I'll be right behind you." As Lux guided the scientists out, Olivia moved to the terminal. Dr. Miller called instructions over her shoulder as they disappeared through the door. Olivia's fingers flew across the interface, initiating the backup sequence. The terminal beeped confirmation just as a violent gravity wave hit the lab. Olivia was thrown against the ceiling, then slammed back to the floor as gravity reversed itself twice. In rapid succession, pain shot through her shoulder. She gritted her teeth and pushed herself up, fighting dizziness. Her comm unit crackled. "Maxwell," Vrex's voice was urgent. "The breach is expanding. Get out now." Olivia stumbled toward the door, fighting against chaotic gravity. Outside in the corridor, she could see Lux and the scientists halfway to the security door. A deafening crack echoed through the section as a structural support failed. Debris flew through the air. Olivia ducked as a metal panel whizzed past her head. "Run!" she shouted to the others ahead of her. She sprinted forward, each step unpredictable as gravity shifted. 20 meters to the security door. 15. 10. Piece of floating equipment slammed into her back, sending her sprawling. Her oxygen mask cracked against the floor. "Cadet," Lux called, turning back. "Keep going," Olivia ordered, pushing herself up. Her mask was leaking air, but the security door was just meters away now. With a final surge of effort, Olivia lunged through the doorway. Lux slammed his hand on the emergency close button. The door sealed shut just as a massive decompression wave hit the other side. Olivia collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath. The scientists were huddled together nearby, shaking but alive. "You did it," Lux said, his voice filled with something that sounded like respect. Olivia managed to smile. "We did it." The comm unit on her wrist activated. "Maxwell, report." It was Vrex again, his tone urgent. "We're clear," Olivia responded. "All 4 of us. The scientists are safe. Their research data is secured." There was a pause. Then, "Good work. Get back to the shelter." When they arrived at the central shelter, Olivia was surprised to find the entire 87th Auxiliary Unit waiting for them. As the door opened, Credo stepped forward. "The shield generators are stable," he reported. "The storm's still raging, but we're holding." Vrex approached, his massive red form towering over her. "You disregarded your personal safety to save others," he stated flatly. Olivia straightened, wincing at the pain in her shoulder. "Yes, Sergeant." To her surprise, Vrex extended his hand in a formal military salute. That's what real soldiers do. One by one, the other aliens of the 87th offered their own species versions of salutes or signs of respect. Commander Jorax called from his medical bed. "Cadet Maxwell, we have another situation. Our long-range scanners just picked up a distress signal. There's a civilian science vessel caught in the outer edge of the storm." Olivia looked at the main display. The small vessel was struggling against the quantum distortions, its engines clearly failing. "Standard protocol is to wait for reinforcements," Commander Jorax continued. "Lieutenant Gaxthorne won't return for at least 18 hours. Olivia studied the vessel's trajectory. In 18 hours, it would be destroyed. We have short-range shuttles, she said thoughtfully. Those aren't rated for quantum storms, Drav objected. No, Olivia agreed. But with some modifications, they might work. She looked around at the aliens of the 87th, no longer a collection of misfits, but a team that had just achieved the impossible. I have an idea, she said, but I'll need volunteers. The outpost's shuttle bay was filled with frantic activity. Olivia stood at a holographic display showing the quantum storm patterns while the members of the 87th worked on 2 short-range shuttles. If we reinforce the shields with the crystals from the weapon systems, we might survive the journey, Credo explained, his scales shifting to a focused blue-green as he worked. Drav used all 4 arms to rewire the shuttle's control systems. I've modified the engines to pulse at irregular intervals. Should help counteract the storm's temporal distortions. Vrex looked skeptical. Even with these modifications, our chances are slim. Slim is better than 0, which is what those scientists have if we do nothing, Olivia replied. The trapped vessel contained 8 researchers studying the very quantum phenomena that now threatened to destroy them. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. We'll take 2 shuttles, Olivia continued. That way, if one fails, the other can still complete the mission. She turned to the gathered aliens. I won't order anyone to come. This is voluntary. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Zilith floated forward, her translucent body glowing with soft determination. I will go. My telepathic abilities might help navigate the storm patterns. I'm in, Credo said. Someone needs to monitor those shield modifications. One by one, every member of the 87th stepped forward to volunteer. I'll pilot the second shuttle, Vrex announced. I have the most flight experience in these conditions. Olivia nodded, surprised and touched by their unity. Then we launch in 30 minutes. As they finished preparations, Commander Jorax had himself wheeled into the shuttle bay. This goes against all standard protocols, he said. Yes, sir, Olivia acknowledged. But it's also the most impressive display of courage I've seen in 20 years of service. The commander handed her a small device. This will boost your communications through the storm interference. Good luck acting, Lieutenant Maxwell. Olivia looked at the commander in surprise. Acting, Lieutenant? Field promotion, Jorax said, with a small smile. You've earned it. 15 minutes later, 2 shuttles launched from Outpost Kappa 9 into the swirling chaos of the quantum storm. Olivia piloted the lead shuttle with Zilith, Credo, and 2 others aboard. Vrex commanded the second shuttle with the remaining team members. The moment they entered the storm proper, reality seemed to warp around them. Colors stretched and twisted. Time felt inconsistent, seconds stretching into what felt like minutes, then compressing again. Shield status? Olivia called over her shoulder. Holding at 60%, Credo reported. The modifications are working better than expected. The shuttle bucked violently as it hit a wave of distortion. Warning lights flashed across the console. Navigation is failing, Olivia said, fighting with the controls. I can't get a fix on the science vessel's position. Zilith moved forward, her body pulsing with concentrated light. I can help. My people can sense quantum states directly. How? Olivia asked, struggling to keep the shuttle stable. My consciousness can reach out, feel the patterns of the storm. The science vessel contains living minds. I can sense them if I focus. Zilith settled into a hovering position at the front of the shuttle. Her form began to pulse rhythmically, tendrils of light extending outward. 3 degrees to starboard, she said after a moment, her voice distant. There's a path through the distortions, a corridor of stable space-time. Olivia adjusted course. Vrex, are you copying this? Affirmative, came the response, broken by static. Following your lead. The shuttles pushed deeper into the storm, following Zilith's directions through the chaos. Twice they had to power down completely to avoid massive temporal surges that would have torn the vessels apart. After what seemed like hours but might have been minutes, Zilith suddenly brightened. There, I can sense 8 minds ahead. Their fear is overwhelming. Through the viewport, a shape became visible in the swirling energies, the science vessel. its hull glowing with the effects of the quantum energies assaulting it. Their engine core is critically unstable, Credo reported, scanning the vessel. We have minutes at most. Vrex, position your shuttle on their starboard side, Olivia ordered. We'll take port. We'll need to extend our shields to protect them while we evacuate. The crew. That will drain our shields completely in under 3 minutes, Credo warned. Then we work fast, Olivia replied, guiding their shuttle into position. Zilith, can you contact them telepathically? Tell them to prepare for emergency evacuation? Zilith's form brightened with purpose. Yes, they're responding. They're moving to their airlock now. As the two shuttles locked onto the failing science vessel, Olivia felt a wave of determination sweep through her. They were no longer misfits or punishment cases. They were a rescue team about to do the impossible. Let's bring them home, she said. The journey back to Outpost Kappa 9 was more dangerous than the trip out. With 8 additional passengers crammed into the shuttles and shield power critically low, every moment brought them closer to disaster. Zilith, we need another safe corridor, Olivia said, hands steady on the controls despite the shuttle shaking violently around them. The telepathic being's glow had dimmed with exhaustion, but Zilith focused again. The storm, it's shifting. The path we took before is gone. Find us another way, Olivia urged. I'm trying, Zilith replied, but my strength is fading. One of the rescued scientists, a tall woman with white hair, moved forward. Maybe I can help. I'm Dr. Rivera. I've been studying quantum storms for 15 years. Any ideas would be welcome, Olivia said as the shuttle lurched again. Dr. Rivera studied the sensor readings. The storm's rotation creates periodic gaps like the eye of a hurricane. If we can time it right. Our shields are at 18%, Credo warned. We won't survive much more. Olivia made a quick decision. Vrex, are you reading this? Barely, came the static-filled reply. Shields at 20%. We're going to ride the storm's rotation, follow our exact course. Olivia turned to Zilith. I need you for one more effort. Can you sense the storm's pattern? Find us that eye? Zilith's body pulsed weakly, but the being moved to the front viewport. Yes, there's a calmness ahead. Bearing 047. With Dr. Rivera calculating and Zilith sensing, Olivia guided the shuttle into what looked like solid wall of purple-black energy. For a terrifying moment, the shuttle spun wildly as alarms blared throughout the cabin. Then suddenly, calm. They had entered a stable pocket within the storm. Vrex's shuttle emerged beside them moments later. Both shuttles report shields under 10%, Credo said. We can't take another hit. We won't need to, Olivia replied confidently. This corridor will lead us home. 20 minutes later, the two shuttles emerged from the quantum storm and approached Outpost Kappa 9. As they entered the shuttle bay, exhausted but triumphant, they found the entire outpost waiting for them. Commander Jorax stood at the front of the crowd, leaning on a makeshift crutch. Beside him, looking thoroughly confused, was Lieutenant Gaxthorn, who had returned early from his supply run. As Olivia stepped out of the shuttle, the scientists they had rescued burst into applause. The members of the 87th Auxiliary Unit formed, an honor guard around her standing at attention, each in their own species version of the posture. Lieutenant Gaxthorn approached, his expression unreadable. Cadet Maxwell, I left this outpost less than a day ago with a disorganized punishment detail. I returned to find unauthorized rescue missions, field promotions, and civilians treating the 87th like heroes. Olivia straightened to attention. Yes, sir. Gaxthorn looked at Commander Jorax questioningly. The commander smiled. In the 18 hours you were gone, Lieutenant, this cadet, Acting Lieutenant Maxwell, saved this outpost from destruction, rescued trapped personnel, stabilized our systems, and then led a mission that saved 8 civilian scientists from certain death. And she did it with us, sir, Vrex added, stepping forward. The same soldiers you said were problems, not a real unit. Gaxthorn studied the assembled aliens of the 87th, noticing their changed demeanor, the pride in their posture, the unity in their formation. Is this true? he asked Olivia. With respect, sir, she replied. I just provided direction. Every member of this unit performed exceptionally. They only needed someone to recognize their abilities. Rex stepped forward. Lieutenant Gaxthorne, as senior non-commissioned officer of the 87th Auxiliary Unit, I formally request that Acting Lieutenant Maxwell be assigned as our permanent squad leader. One by one, the other aliens voiced their agreement. This is highly irregular, Gaxthorne said, but Commander Jorax was already typing on a datapad. I've submitted the paperwork to Alliance Command, the commander said. Given the circumstances and my personal observation of Acting Lieutenant Maxwell's exemplary leadership, I expect it will be approved immediately. Gaxthorne looked at Olivia with new respect. It seems I underestimated both you and this unit, Lieutenant Maxwell. Olivia smiled and looked at the aliens of the 87th, no longer misfits but her team. Permission to address the unit, sir? Gaxthorne nodded. Olivia turned to face her platoon. When I arrived here, I thought this assignment was punishment. I was wrong. It was exactly where I needed to be. She looked at each alien in turn. You taught me that leadership isn't about giving orders. It's about bringing out the best in those you serve with.